We've spent the last several weeks learning how to recognize the stories that shape our lives, release the ones that no longer serve us, and rewrite them with greater compassion and purpose. But there's one final step, because knowing your new story isn't enough. You have to live it. That's what realignment is. It is the daily practice of becoming the person your new narrative describes. Many people believe transformation happens the moment they change their thinking. Psychology tells us something different. Our brains are built around repetition. Neural pathways strengthen every time we think, feel, or behave in familiar ways. That means even after rewriting our personal narrative, our nervous system often continues operating from the old one. You may still feel anxious, still expect rejection, still anticipate danger. Not because your new story isn't true, but because your brain has spent years practicing the old one. Realignment is how we teach both the mind and the body that a different life is possible. Trauma creates expectations. Instead of asking, "What do I want?" our brains begin asking, "What should I protect myself from?" Instead of moving toward life, we begin organizing our lives around avoiding pain. Eventually, our identity becomes centered around survival instead of possibility. That is why healing isn't simply remembering what happened. Healing is changing your relationship to what happened. Psychologically, realignment builds resilience because it restores agency. Instead of seeing yourself as someone life happened to, you begin seeing yourself as someone capable of responding to life's challenges. Research consistently shows that resilience isn't the absence of hardship. It's the ability to recover while maintaining a coherent sense of self. Your narrative becomes more flexible. Instead of saying, "This setback proves I'm a failure," you begin saying, "This is one difficult chapter, not the entire story." That subtle shift changes everything. Emotion follows interpretation. The same event can produce despair or determination depending on the story we attach to it. Realignment doesn't eliminate sadness. It doesn't erase grief. It doesn't pretend trauma never happened. It creates emotional freedom. You're no longer controlled by emotions because you understand where they're coming from. Instead of reacting automatically, you respond intentionally. Over time, fear loses its authority. Shame begins to soften. Self-compassion grows stronger. Spiritually, realignment reconnects us with meaning. Many people who experience trauma lose trust, not only in others, but in themselves. Some lose faith entirely. Realignment invites a different question. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" we begin asking, "Who am I becoming because of it?" That shift doesn't glorify suffering. It honors the possibility that even painful experiences can become sources of wisdom, compassion, and purpose. Many spiritual traditions describe transformation as returning to one's authentic self. I think that's exactly what happens here. The old narrative says, "I am what happened to me." The new narrative says, "I am the author of what happens next." Transformation rarely happens through one dramatic decision. It happens through hundreds of small ones. Each day we ask ourselves, what story am I living today? Does this action reflect the person I'm becoming? Am I reacting from fear or responding from purpose? Does the decision move me closer to my authentic self? Every answer strengthens the new narrative. Your story will always include difficult chapters. Mine certainly does. But difficult chapters don't have to become permanent identities. Realignment is the decision to live according to the story you've intentionally chosen rather than the one trauma wrote for you. Because disruption isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of your transformation. Thank you for joining me through this 4-part journey. I hope these conversations have encouraged you to recognize, release, rewrite, and finally realign your life. Your story is still being written. Make sure you're the one holding the pen. And before you go, I'd like you to spend 10 minutes writing about one question. If the healthiest version of yourself were writing the next chapter of your life, what would it say? Don't worry about writing perfectly. Just write honestly. Sometimes transformation begins with a single sentence. Until next time, keep writing your story. And remember, you are the author.